Loved by few, hated by many, David Leadbetter has undeniably developed a legendary status on the golf course. His technical expertise and innovative approach to the golf swing made him an iconic figure. But what was once celebrated and sought after has tragically become known as a curse: lead poisoning. It's incredible how everything this coach gets involved with seems to turn sour. And is this really true? The man who was once hailed as the best golf coach is now being accused of ruining the careers of his trainees. Can you believe it? Well, let's get into details. Leadbetter rose to prominence in the 1980s when he famously rebuilt Nick Faldo's swing, leading to Faldo's first major championship victory. This success catapulted Leadbetter into the spotlight, and soon he was working with some of the biggest names in golf: Ernie Els, Nick Price, and Greg Norman. His teaching methods, which emphasized a more technical and analytical approach to the golf swing, seemed to be the wave of the future. But as the old saying goes, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. And in recent years, Leadbetter's methods have come under intense scrutiny, particularly in relation to his work with two of the most promising young talents in women's golf, Michelle Wie and Lydia Ko. What was once hailed as revolutionary instruction is now being questioned by many in the golf world. Have Leadbetter's techniques, which seemed so effective for established pros, actually hindered the development of these young prodigies? To understand the controversy surrounding Leadbetter's coaching of Wie and Co., we need to go back to first appreciate the immense talent these two players possessed before they began working with him. Michelle Wie exploded onto the golf scene as a precocious preteen, attracting audiences with her incredible power off the tee and boundless potential. By the age of 14, she fearlessly took on the men's PGA Tour events, going head-to-head with the absolute best players in the world. And let me tell you, she held her own like a true champion. Her natural athletic swing was a thing of beauty, and many predicted she would dominate women's golf for years to come. Lydia Ko's rise was equally meteoric. By the time she turned pro in 2013 at the age of 16, she had already won 4 professional events as an amateur, an almost unheard-of accomplishment. Ko's early success was built on a simple, repeatable swing that belied her young age. She may not have been the longest hitter, but her accuracy and consistency were off the charts. In 2014, at the age of 17, Ko made history by becoming the youngest golfer ever to reach world number 1. This incredible feat is a true testament to her exceptional talent and remarkable maturity. But then, something really weird happened with the both of them. They started to decline in their game, one mistake after another, causing quite a bit of embarrassment. And let me tell you, do you know what the common factor was? David Leadbetter. In 2004, Wie's parents hired him to help refine their daughter's game. On the surface, it seemed like a match made in heaven, the world's top instructor working with golf's most promising young talent. But as time went on, cracks began to appear in this seemingly perfect partnership. People in the golfing world began to notice changes in Wie's swing. Someone asked in a tweet, "Do you notice a trend?" Most of the guys he ruined had a beautiful rhythm and unique mechanics. As we all know, David is obsessed with the mechanics of golf, and many of his students reduced their swing to the carbon copy David Leadbetter swing. Well, this pretty much cuts to the heart of the issue. Under Leadbetter's tutelage, Wie's once fluid swing became more mechanical and less natural. The effortless power that had been her trademark was replaced by a more rigid, technical motion, and the results on the course were alarming. While Michelle did manage to win the 2014 U.S. Women's Open, her overall performance during her time with Leadbetter was underwhelming given her immense talent. Injuries began to pile up and her confidence appeared to waver. Many of us couldn't help but wonder, had Leadbetter's obsession with technique stripped away the natural gifts that had made Wie so special in the first place? How can an extremely talented golfer go from such a high to so low in just 1 year? For us, the answer is simple: poor coaching, and perhaps some poor management. Michelle's coaching was nothing short of a disgrace. Wie, once hailed as the future of women's golf, has struggled to live up to the lofty expectations placed upon her. While it would be unfair to place all the blame on Leadbetter, factors like injuries and the immense pressure Michelle faced certainly played a role. It's hard to ignore the correlation between his involvement and her decline. But if the Michelle Wie story wasn't enough to raise eyebrows about Leadbetter's methods, the case of Lydia Ko is even more perplexing. In late 2016, Ko made the decision to part ways with her longtime coach and caddy, instead turning to David Leadbetter for guidance. What happened next caught everyone by surprise. Under Leadbetter's guidance, Ko's swing underwent significant changes. The goal, according to David, was to add more power to her game without sacrificing accuracy. But as we've seen time and time again, sometimes the cure is worse than the disease. Let's look at some cold, hard facts. In 2015, before working with Leadbetter, Ko won 5 times on the LPGA Tour, including her first major championship. She finished the year ranked #1 in the world and seemed poised for a long reign at the top of women's golf. Fast forward to 2016, and the cracks begin to show. While Ko did win 4 times that year, including another major, her form took a nosedive in the latter half of the season. Her driving accuracy and greens in regulation percentage, 2 stats that had been the bedrock of her success, both declined significantly. But here's where things get really interesting. Despite the clear evidence that Ko's game was getting worse, Leadbetter seemed unaware of the problem. In an interview with John Huggin of the Golf Paper in April 2016, Leadbetter praised the changes they had made. "Lydia now has a golf swing she can use for a long time. I smile when I look back at all the questioning. On television, Judy Rankin was asking why we would change anything, which was fair enough. But now, Judy is saying that Lydia has one of the best swings she has ever seen and a perfect model to copy. I take that as a huge compliment." So, talk about missing the big picture. While Leadbetter was patting himself on the back, Ko's game took a dramatic downturn. Her driving distance, contrary to Leadbetter's claims, actually decreased during their time together. And maybe most worryingly, her fairways hit percentage and greens in regulation percentage both kept going down. Also, the golf world took notice of what was happening. Social media soon reflected the growing concern. Man, look what happened to Lydia Ko since her management company signed a deal with David Leadbetter. He did what he does best: take a golfer with an athletic, smooth swing and just completely ruin it. Worst thing is, he has her stuck with that A-swing as a marketing tool, and it is going to wreak havoc on her career for years to come. And now, this brings us to an important point. Leadbetter's A-swing method, which he heavily promoted during his time with Ko, has come under intense criticism from many in the golf world. Critics argue that it's too mechanical, too one-size-fits-all, and strips away the natural athleticism that makes great golfers great. Everyone ended up hating the A-swing. Ko's partnership with Leadbetter ended in December 2016, but the damage was already done. Since then, she's had a hard time getting back to the form that made her the best player in the world. Although she's shown moments of her old greatness, the consistency that used to define her has been hard to find. Now it's important to know that David Leadbetter hasn't just accepted these criticisms. In fact, he's been quite vocal in defending his methods and blaming others, especially in Lydia Ko's case. David pointed the finger at Ko's parents, saying, "Her parents have a lot to answer for. It's a case of unbelievable ignorance." He also suggested that Ko's father imposed swing changes without consulting her coaches, and that fatigue was the true cause of her decline in form. However, many in the golf world aren't buying it. Eamon Lynch, a respected golf journalist, called out Leadbetter on Twitter for still blaming Lydia Ko's decline on her parents. Leadbetter's response? "Results are plain to see, sadly." Indeed they are, David, but perhaps not in the way you think. So, what conclusions can we draw from all this? Is David Leadbetter really the golf coach who ruins careers, or is he just an easy target for criticism when things go wrong? The truth, as always, probably lies somewhere in the middle. There's no denying Leadbetter's past successes. His work with Nick Faldo alone cements his place in golf coaching history. And it's worth noting that not all of his students have struggled. Ernie Els, for example, had a fruitful partnership with Leadbetter. But the cases of Michelle Wie and Lydia Ko are hard to ignore. These were 2 of the most naturally gifted players of their generation, and both saw their games decline significantly under Leadbetter's tutelage. It's a pattern that's difficult to dismiss as mere coincidence, because the thing is, these aren't the only careers that have been ruined after the lead poisoning. Bob Tway, Aaron Baddeley, Ty Tryon, Charles Howell, Justin Rose, David Duval, all of them improved their careers only after they moved on from David. So what the heck are we missing here? Perhaps the real issue lies in Leadbetter's approach to coaching young, developing players. His highly technical, mechanics-focused method may work well for established pros looking to make minor tweaks to their games. But for young players still developing their swings and on-course strategies, it may be too much, too soon. And there's also the question of Leadbetter's willingness to adapt his methods to suit individual players. Golf is not a one-size-fits-all sport, and what works for one player may be disastrous for another. The best coaches are those who can tailor their instruction to the unique needs and abilities of each player. Ask yourself, how many majors could Michelle Wie have won if she had been allowed to develop her natural swing? Could Lydia Ko have dominated women's golf for a decade or more if she hadn't made those fatal swing changes? Yes, the allure of working with a big-name coach can be strong, but at what cost? So why do players continue to seek out Leadbetter's services, despite the potential risks? Part of it may be his undeniable charisma and marketing savvy. David has built a veritable empire around his golf instruction, with academies, books, and training aids bearing his name. He's a master at self-promotion, and his high-profile successes have given him an aura of infallibility in some circles. And there's also no denying that Leadbetter possesses a keen eye for the mechanics of the golf swing. Many players who have worked with him speak of his ability to quickly identify flaws and suggest corrections. The problem, it seems, is not in Leadbetter's ability to diagnose swing issues, but in his approach to fixing them. And sometimes, maybe even often, fixing prodigies doesn't mean completely changing their swing. And let's not even mention the A-swing, which can be painful to watch sometimes. So what do you think? Has David Leadbetter been responsible for the decline of many golfers? Or is it just bad luck? Let us know what you think in the comments, and if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more golf content.